Hello everyone. When Mikhail Tal sat at the chessboard, logic often took a backseat and creativity drove at the full speed. He didn't wait for the perfect position. He created chaos, sacrificed pieces, and forced his opponents into a psychological meltdown. Today, we are diving into one of the Tal's most unforgettable attacking games. So, let's look at that game. In this game, Tal had black pieces and he was playing against Gurgenidze, who was white. This is, as we can notice, from the Benoni defense. And so one of the things about the Benoni defense is that white gets a strong center control, but black has this queenside pawn majority, so black can try to do something. Black has this active bishop as well. We can try to create some activity based on that. Now, Tal, in his original style, wanted to bring some imbalance in the position. So he went for knight g4. So, an interesting move where the rook has already shifted to e1 and this knight is blocking the bishop. The rooks are not connected. So Tal is like, alright, my opponent does not have that great of a piece coordination. So I can try to play actively and put pressure on him. Now, in this position, a good move for Tal's opponent would have been to play bishop takes g4. If bishop takes g4, then he can play something like knight c4. There are ideas of bishop f4, and then it's more pleasant position for white to be in. Though there can be some queen f6 idea to stop it, but then white can play something like bishop e3. White doesn't have any weaknesses, and then he can continue. But white got a bit greedy. White thought that, wait, what is Tal going to do? It's not like there is this threat or this threat or something like that. Why should I capture that knight? I don't want to capture that knight. I want to kick that knight. And then he played h3. And this was a big mistake. Tal actually had intended that after knight g4, white would fall for h3. And that's exactly what happened. So now the question is, what did Tal have in mind? So if you want to make a guess, you can pause the video and try to find the move. So Tal actually was intending to play knight takes f2. He was not planning to bring the knight to f6 or e5 or something. He was planning to sacrifice the knight. The point is that rook is on e1, and another thing, the most important defensive piece, the queen, is also on the queen side. There is not much connection on the king side. So Tal recognized that he can do something. And now there is the sacrifice. Now, please remember one very important principle, that whenever your opponent sacrifices some material, not all the time you are forced to capture that. Sometimes you can delay that and then try to stabilize your position and then take that material. Or you can sacrifice material on your own to deal with opponent's activity. And here, it was a difficult moment for white. And white could have kept the game complicated by playing the move knight f3. So, not an easy move. So, what he's doing, he's bringing the knight in defense. Somewhere the queen connection might also happen later. And it seems like, wait, how will Tal save the knight? So, there is this move, bishop into c3. But what has happened is, Tal's one of the most active pieces, the bishop, that's gone. He can play knight takes c4, the knight escapes. That would be like, alright, Tal is up 2 pawns, but it's not that easy. For example, his opponent can play the move c4. There can be this idea, and he's getting some activity for the sacrifice material. So this is something you should have done. So next time if your opponent gives a sacrifice, and if you feel it's too dangerous, then ask yourself, can I decline it and try to create activity on my own? Anyways, Tal's opponent played king takes f2. He's like, let's accept the sacrifice. Big mistake. And now how Tal punishes his opponent for this is something we'll see. So he played the move queen h4 check. Now in this position, bishop d4 check is also possible. It is more of a transposition than anything else, because queen h4 check, white's king cannot go to g1 because this would fall. Then king f1 and then bishop d4. He's threatening the mate. There is only one move, to save it, that is knight d1. White's position is getting more and more passive. Now, Tal played a brilliant move actually. So, if you want to make a guess, then you can try to pause the video and then do it. By the way, don't be in a rush, otherwise you might make a move that feels natural but is not the best. Alright, so how many of you actually played the move bishop takes h3? So yeah, this looks like a good move, but it's not the best. Of course, g takes h3, queen takes h3 is mate, but white is not forced to accept the sacrifice. White can play rook a3, that rook lift. And then, for example, you can be like, okay, bishop f5 and I'll try to do something here. But then there is knight e3. So the problem that can happen is this rook is defending the knight. So if queen h1 check, the king can escape and the position remains complicated. So bishop takes h3, not a bad move, but not the best as well. So the move that Tal played is queen takes h3, queen sacrifice. And of course, there is no way his opponent, Gurgenidze, can accept it because it would be mate. Then in this position, and queen h1 mate threat is also there. So his opponent played bishop f3. He's like, alright, I'll create an escape square for the king. Tal is not worried. He's like, alright, I got a bunch of pawns and your king is still weak. So he played queen h2. So in this position, he has plans of at some point playing this, or at some point playing f5, covering this and then playing this one. He has his attacking chances. His opponent played knight e3. He's like, I'll block your bishop. Tal played the move f5. He wants to open this file. So one thing that we have to remember is that if we want to target our king, if we want to weaken our king maximum, then we should try to open more files. We should try to open more diagonals and we should try to include our pawns in the attack as well. Then his opponent played knight dc4. Tal is not worried. F takes e4. Bishop takes e4, and now he played the move bishop a6. A really nice move. See, this bishop, so bishop is a long range piece. So this bishop from the queen side is keeping the pressure on the king side. This bishop, this queen, this rook. It's just too much for white to handle all of that. He played bishop f3. Then in this position, Tal played the move rook e5. Centralizing the rook, by the way, this is not possible, and in some cases he can go to g5 to increase the pressure, or he can try to double up, or he can try to bring the rook to f8 depending on his opponent's move. So rook a3 was played. The last piece that was not doing much was that rook on a8, and now that rook is also on the open file. Then bishop d2 was played, and now Tal found nice idea to, and then white's position will crumble. He played the move knight takes d5, another sacrifice. The point is that if knight takes d5, then there is this mate. If bishop takes d5, then there is rook takes d5, and if knight takes d5, then queen g1 is a mate. And in this position, king e2 was played. White is like, alright, I'll try to escape with the king. That's just too optimistic. And then bishop takes e3 was played. Rook takes e3, and then in this position, bishop takes e4 was played by Tal, and his opponent resigned. The point is that if queen takes e4, then there is queen g2, king d1, then there is just queen d2. This is just game over. So this was a really nice attacking game from Mikhail Tal, and not only we learned about the attack, but also we learned about if our opponent sacrifices material, then how we can try to deal with it at times by not accepting it. Thanks everyone for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.